Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe so that you can see more videos. I do style, fashion, DIY, hair tutorials, all that jazz. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be back over here for more videos soon. Now, as you can probably tell by the title, this video is all about blending your extensions. If you have fine, low density hair, I know it can be really daunting to wear extensions because you always feel like people can see your tracks. I'm going to give you 5 tips that will really help you to blend your clip-ins so that you don't feel self-conscious when you're out in public and you don't feel like everybody is staring up in your scalp noticing the tracks. So my first tip is to make sure that the color match is as perfect as it can be. Because you already have scalp that shows really well or really easily with fine low density hair, you have to make sure that anything that might peek through blends with your hair growing out of your head, because then if anyone's kind of looking at it or if you're looking at it, you're not going to be able to tell if it's a track or if it's your hair because they're going to blend even if it exposes itself. You know, sometimes you get the gush of wind and you're like, ah, it's showing. If it's the same color match, you don't have to worry too much. It's not going to be showing. Now, to give you an example, I am wearing Bella Curls clip-ins and I got them in the chocolate brown color. Now, my hair right now is not one flat color, and I think a lot of people are like that, where your hair is just not like easy tone. So if you do have a bit of a mixture of tones, you can do what I did. I'll just suggest this to you if you want. I got this chocolate brown color, which is lighter than my hair color, but I do have little light bits in my hair, just like old dye that's kind of fading out and exposing some old color. So what I decided to do is go with the lighter brown, or lighter than my hair, and then I got a dark brown box dye, and I did kind of like DIY low lights. So I focused all of that dark brown color at the roots of the clip-ins, so right up to the weft. I dyed all that, and then I just brought it down to the tips, but I wasn't super crazy about covering the whole of the extensions, of course, because I wanted some of that lighter color to still remain. So it almost looked like a little bit of dimension and a little bit of highlights, natural highlights coming through. But it was really important for me to get that dark brown color right at the clips, because that's the part that is going to have to match my roots. And of course, if this is something that, if this is an investment you want to make, because curly clip-ins are obviously an investment, they're not like $10. If you want some clip-ins that are going to last, that you can dye, that you can wash, and you can wear for a long time, of course it is a bit of an investment. So if you are willing to invest in some curly clip-ins, I'd also say if you're really, self-conscious about this and you really want to get it right because you want to wear them all the time, you can also take them to a stylist or colorist to match it perfectly to your hair as well, if you're not really a DIY kind of girl. Tip number 2 is parting. I think a lot of people get intimidated because you might have short layers and you think, well, if I put in the clip-ins, it's just gonna look like, obvious shorter layers and then boom, long hair. So I would say really play with your parting options in order to make it look really natural. And I'll show you some old footage from a video I had before. My bangs weren't quite as short as this, and I'll just show you different ways that I like to wear my curly clip-ins to make it look most natural. I typically don't wear it just like this. I always like to play a little bit with the sides to blend in, see the shorter pieces. I will take like some bobby pins and do kind of like a half up, half down look to make it look really natural rather than like boop, boop, straight down. Here's a tip I will say though. If you do want to wear the center part hair down, get those clips right up to the very top, and then of course just have some of your leave out on top. And then what you can do is you can use some product to manipulate your hair a little bit so it curls into the extensions. So when your hair is wet, for example, and the clip-ins are also wet, you can take your hair and parts of the extensions and you can kind of twirl them together, or you can do even like a twist out or a braid out together. That way your hair is kind of locking into the clip-in so that it looks a lot more natural. So tip number 3, I would say consider wet hair versus dry hair. You have to think about how your hair performs in either case and wait until it's the best time to do your blending. For example, if my hair is sopping wet, it is so thin looking. I think anyone that's watching this that has thin hair probably relates. And so if I was to try and go out with my hair at the front being sopping wet or even a little bit damp, and then styling it, putting any kind of styler in it while it's wet, and kind of wearing it back, you're gonna get a look like this. And this is what we want to avoid, because it becomes really, really obvious that it's not really matching very well. So for me, what I like to do is either install the clip-ins on my hair that's braided up at the back, and then I'll take out my hair that's kind of sectioned off at the front, wet it, and then put in some styling products, scrunch it, and let it dry afterwards. Or what I'll do is wet all of the hair together and let it all dry together and scrunch it together. But if I'm doing that look where it's, worn quite back at the sides, then my hair has to be dry first. So I'll wait for my hair to get big and fluffy, then I'll play with the sides, put in the bobby pins where I need to, and you're not gonna see my scalp as easily as you would if it was damp. Tip number 4 is braiding for grip. Now, I know that you would think we want as much density as we can if we have low density hair, but for me, I would personally suggest that you braid up as much hair as you can and just leave as much hair on top as you can work with for blending or for leave out. But when you braid up the back, it also not only protects your hair, of course, so that's become like a protective style, and also it's easier for blending, but it's great for gripping now, and it also helps for volume. So when I braid it up, I kind of make like a little bit like a long, like a horizontal oval sort of braid, if you know what I mean. So instead of like a tight bun, I kind of like flatten the bun to make it a little bit wider, and then I bobby pin it in, and then I use it almost like a bit of a grip. So I will put the clips into the little buns, and it just kind of holds a lot better. Also, keeping with that, with the high one, I also think it helps with a little bit of volume as well, so you don't have it super, super flat on top. So what you can do is clip it actually into the bun, so you have a little bit of more of a bump on top. Tip number 5 is texture match. The best way to make it look natural is by making your textures look the same. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up example here. My natural hair is curlier than these clip-ins, but my bangs kind of look more like the bottom, like the clip-ins. So there's 2 things I can do. Obviously, as I mentioned, I can bobby pin parts of it back and just have kind of some wispies out to make it look really natural. I can manipulate the actual hair as well. So what I can do is take a comb it through, and make the whole look just, less perfect spirals and more just wild free look, which I love. Another thing I can do is wet my hair, as I mentioned before, and I can actually do a twist out on it. So twist it with my extensions and then make it look like they're both the same texture. And the same can happen for, you can do this with curlers. I've done it with sponge curlers and combed it out before for another look, and I love that as well. There's so many things you can do. So you can just treat it like your natural hair, but there's different ways to tweak it so that you can make it look, a little bit more cohesive. Okay, so now that I'm done with all the tips, I'm going to show you how I am going to be styling my hair for today. So my hair is pretty much, it's probably like 95% dry. The back of my hair is dry. The clip-ins are dry. It was just the front of my hair that is a little bit damp. So the ones with 3, which are obviously shorter, I put towards the bottom of my head, because obviously that's more narrow. So I think it's 3 or 2 of those at the back. Then 2 of the 4 put in the center, because obviously that is the wider part of my head. And then I follow up with the rest of the 3 right at the top of my head. Now I'll show you what that looks like. And so what I'm going to do is cover that, And I'll do that by taking a comb and kind of bringing some hair back. Now obviously if you have low density hair, you know that you don't have a lot of hair to bring back. So I have about this much I'm going to be working with. Now you can tease it a little bit to help if you need to. And then I like to bring in those itty bitty bobby pins that I mentioned before, those little tiny ones. The smallest clip-ins, which are just 2 pieces that have 2 clips, I like to keep for the very end, of course, and I like to wait until my hair is styled or fully dried, and I'll part a little bit right here. There we go, there's that low density cameo. And I like to put it on an angle, like a diagonal. So not like just like this, I like to do it like this. So I'll show you in a second. And that's just like pretty much following my hairline, but also so that I have a little bit of, you know, I guess leave out of my natural hair showing in front of the weft, so that it's not like the weft is like right on my head, if you know what I mean. And then I'll just put this over, and then I still have a little bit showing at the side and not much hair, but we'll use those little bobby pins again. To pin it in. Now don't go just by how it feels, because a lot of times you'll feel it and think that so much is exposed, but then when you look in the mirror it's not really showing. So definitely look in the mirror, of course. Now of course what I love about the 2 longer pieces for the front is that if you do have shorter hair and you put these longer pieces towards the very front of your face, obviously you now don't have that choppy look as much. So you can still have those shorter layers kind of intermixed a little bit. It blends a lot better, rather than that kind of harsh looking short line, long hair at the bottom kind of thing. So I just clipped it in. Now I'm going to take some of my hair at the front, and I'm just going to bobby pin it in. And even when I bobby pin, I put the bobby pin down and then I like tuck it under some more hair so that it's not sticking out. And as you'll see, it is so hard to see anything because, like, look right here. Are you guys looking? Are you looking? Here's an example. If the wind was to blow and this was to expose, look how well that matches. Because it matches so well, it's not really obvious. Now I just put in one of the wrong bobby pins, so you can see that a little bit. It's not the one that matches, but the weft, you barely see that because it matches so well. So that's what I was telling you about the color matching, making sure it matches perfectly. And obviously I cannot do a whole bunch of teasing and stuff because I just have the short bangs, and teasing your hair when most of it is already allocated to covering spots is not as easy. So what I do is I take half and pull it back, and I do a little bit of a high messy bun. This is kind of like my go-to look when I'm styling them because I like how natural it looks. Gives you more volume at the top, nice kind of playful look, really natural looking. And of course a lot easier for blending as well. The other thing I like to do is I like to take a wide tooth comb, and you don't want to be yanking while it's in your hair. The clips are in your hair, but if you hold it and then just do the bottom, it's not going to hurt your head. So I like to take a comb to it a little bit to make it a little bit more full, free looking. So yeah, I personally like to frizz it up a little bit because I think that looks really natural. Now, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. I'll give you a look from the sides and the back as well, of course. If all of this is too much, it intimidates you, but you still want to rock it, You can do the headband, it's no problem. You can do a turban on top, a hat on top. There's so many things you can do as well. If you're still a little bit self-conscious, there's no reason why you're not able to rock them if you want to.